Well, those of you who have been watching me for quite a while, way back a few years ago, I was actually talking about a Superbike that I've got, which is an Australian-made replica of the Cafe Watts Olympic bike. That was back in the 90s when Cafe Watts won the Olympics. And the bike, it was a one-piece, like the Lotus bike. It looks very similar to the Lotus bike. But I was actually going to restore this bike, and I had it all in bits, and nothing happened. And what happened was I had it in with a painter, and he didn't do anything with it for about 2 years. And he just done some priming and some basic stuff. And because it was taking so long and he had other works, I took it back off him. And I've arranged to get some other works done where I'm going to get it wrapped. So the project now is started again after about a 2.5 to 3 year break. So we're starting to get that rolling again, and we'll roll that intro, and then we can have a bit of a talk about where we are at the moment with the Superbike and what is the plan to get that Superbike done. Well, the plan for a starter is because of the pattern I want, which is very similar to the design that Cafe Watts used in one of her sprint races, was the Australian flag. And it's kind of an abstract Australian flag, but I'm having a little bit different. So it's got stars and it's got blue on it, and it's got the Union Jack and all that sort of on it. So it's kind of a difficult thing to paint. So what was recommended to me is that we can have the bike wrapped. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to add a bit of weight to the bike, but because it's kind of a retro type restoration bike, we're not trying to make it like a super race. We're just trying to make it so it's nice to ride and it represents some history of Australia and Australia's involvement in cycling within the Olympic arena and what sort of bikes they used. And this bike was in the period where the UCI deregulated the rules, and we had bikes like the Lotus bike and also the Superbike, and there were some other bikes where they didn't have to comply to the triangular frame. And we had some very inventive designs. And I would like to see that those rules are relaxed again. But unfortunately, what I think doesn't matter. UCI believe that we need to have some restrictions on frame design. So that's where we are today. But getting back to my Superbike, so what I've arranged is I've got the bike, I've had the bike in, and there's been some preliminary shaping and designs of how they can do the wrap because there's some very tight corners. And what I've done is I've just put a base coat on, which is the same color as the flag. So if there's any gaps with the joining of the wrap, it won't stand out too much because I've painted it the same colour as the blue part of the Australian flag. So hopefully it'll come out pretty reasonable. And then what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to fit the latest 12-speed chorus to the bike. I don't know, I might have to discuss that with the bike shop and whatever, because it's a bit of a strange design. Maybe it might be better to go for a single-speed electronic. I don't know, but at the moment, I'm thinking the chorus 12-speed, and I might actually make that just a single speed on the crankset because because it was made back in 2006. It's really designed for a standard crank, not the compacts or subcompacts. The derailleur doesn't go down low enough because of the design, and it hits the frame. So I've had problems with that before, but hopefully I can get over that issue with the bike and put some reasonably easy gears on it. It's not going to be a hill climber anyway, so it's not such a big issue. I may actually just put a standard crank on. We'll see how we go, but definitely hoping to have 1132 on the back. So that's kind of my plan. I'm a little bit open to different ideas. Maybe you guys can leave something down in the comments. But I've got some pictures of the bike, which I've just done the base coat. So here they are now. So what's happened is now this bike has been sitting in the back of some warehouse paint shop for a long time. I've got it back, And now I'm getting the ball rolling again to get this project back on track so I can get this Superbike finished. And amazingly enough, just something about the riding of the bike, because it has no seat stays and it's a one piece, it has an incredible amount of compliance in the back, in the flex of the aluminium. When you ride over things like cobblestones and that, it's incredibly compliant. Like compared to your normal triangular frame bikes, it just rides so smooth. So that is something that I think if they went, or the UCI allowed these bikes to come back and can be used as regulation, compliance of the bikes would be far more superior. Anyway, guys, that's my update on the Superbike. And if you've got any comments, leave them down below. Any comments about group sets to fit to the Superbike, then let me know. It does have some restrictions in the way that the crank set, it's got a BSA crank, and I might have to put on maybe a standard crank. I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. I already know that you can't, if you go to even just a compact, the derailleur, you have a lot of problems getting the front derailleur down low enough, because it has like an insert. It's like an insert in the frame where it sits in. When you put it down to try and get it to be as close to the front gears as possible, it won't go low enough. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it for this vid, and I will see you next video.